gorgeous. How's it going? Melissa, I write books. Today, I just wanted to chat with you guys. It was the most influencer thing I could have said. But really, I've been thinking recently about writing, as I do, and about my attitude towards it and like how I viewed it in my life. Because I think there's this tendency as writers that we overanalyze things and we're like consuming a lot of content about what's the right way to do something. How do we best fill our creativity? What's the best writing process? Like there's a reason why the inception of AuthorTube was educational how to write a book videos. When you're looking at something so massive, you want guidelines as to how to do it. But I just have been realizing something lately about the way I've defined my process and how it's actually changed. The thesis statement of this video, I think, is also the title of this video, which is that I think writing is a team sport, which is not something I've thought before. I've never been like objecting to community in writing or objecting to the thought of there being multiple hands in a book. Like I've never been opposed to like that, but I've always thought of writing in my head as something that I do. Like my writing, my books is something that I do. Because I mean, if you think about it, all the words written, especially in a first draft, came from my head, came from the plot that I decided, and the words that they're saying are the words I think they should say, and like that all is very individual. When you have to actually sit your butt down on the chair and write the book, that is individual. And I would say like it's more individual than most things. But I don't think it's as isolated as I used to think it is. I have written books in a vacuum. Like I have written books where I wrote them and nobody read them until they were done. And then other people read them, and then I got feedback, and then whatever. And I think that that's one of the things that drew me to writing is if I think back in my life, a lot of the things that I found a lot of success in were things that I was the variable. Like it wasn't dependent on all these other things to make it happen. I could start it and do it, and it was done just from me not depending on other people. So for example, one thing I really excelled at in high school was speech, where I individually impacted my outcome. I could work as many hours as I wanted. I could practice as long as it was up to me how I did. I mean, obviously I had coaches and I trained with other people, and like that was honestly more community based than I considered it at the time. But at the end of the day, like I could stay up another hour and memorize it. And that was something I found a lot of success in. Similarly, a job I had for a while, and it's sort of similar to the job I have now, was a videographer, but in that role, I was the main person, like the person for the project. Like I'd get assigned to a client and I would be that point person for that. Like I would do all of the planning, all of the filming, and all of the editing. And yes, obviously I worked on a team and the people that I was working with helped with that too, but at the end of the day, it was up to me. And the same with YouTube, honestly. Like that's why I often lean to these things that are very controlled and I can control them. Something I think I've always like known, but I think there's a difference between knowing something and then experiencing it and understanding it and living in it. I've always known that it's great to have other people involved in your writing process, that it's great to have critique partners and beta readers who are with you throughout the process, right? It's great to have feedback and like an audience and like all this stuff. But knowing it and practicing it, I think with writing especially, is something that I've grown into a little bit very recently, actually. So I'm just gonna kind of go through a couple ways that I've learned throughout writing 4 books. Yeah, I've written 4 books now. Throughout writing them, not what I've learned about writing, but what I've learned about the importance of community. So one way that writing is a team sport is in the actual accountability of it. So it's not necessary, but you can have accountability partners. Recently, I've really found a lot of success in writing live streams. So I am live weekdays at 6 a.m. Not every weekday, but a lot of them. So this week especially, I'm doing every day but Wednesday. By the time this is out, it's probably like Thursday. I was debating like, should I go more often? I don't know, is it kind of a cop-out to do a live stream? No, it's not. Writing with the live stream, writing with the video, those are not cop-outs. That does not mean you have low discipline. It just means you're using community, like your body doubling. It's very normal, it's very real. And so that's been one way that has been so helpful for me. NaNoWriMo, not the organization, but the event of NaNoWriMo has also been really great in building community because it's brought this sense of like, we're all writing together, and watching people's content surrounding NaNoWriMo has also just made writing feel like this is something we're all doing together. So there's that end of it of like, we can write at the same time, and that's the team sport element of it. But I also think there's a lot of value in bringing people in earlier into your drafts. The reason this whole video came to my mind was that I recently sent my book, honestly, the first half of it, it's not even done, the first half of it to some critique partners. And I told them, I was like, I have not done any line editing, I've not done any copy editing. This is just to kind of get a plot check vibe. And these two are so wonderful. They're people I know in real life, and they're commenting on what I asked them to, but they're also like talking about things like sentence structure and like in each paragraph, like and this takes a lot of detail. And so I'm so appreciative. But they'll be like, I actually like when if you flipped these two sentences around, or if you brought in this a little bit earlier, and that's something I didn't think that I wanted yet. I was like, no, I'll wait until a little bit later in the process, but bringing them in that early, it helps me to see the potential of the scenes so much clearer, and I think it's gonna actually help in creating less drafts, which is my goal, which might be a hot take, because I know sometimes you can have this sense of pride of like, I'm on draft 25 of this book and it's gonna be amazing. And I think I would like to be getting to a place where I have 3 drafts. So I have the rough draft, I have the revision draft, and then I have not even 3 drafts, 3 stages. So I have rough draft stage, I have revision stage, and then I have copy and line edit stage. And ideally those are 3 drafts. I think I had 8 or 5 or something like that with the wedding season, which is fine, but I'd like to be catching things early in a lot of different areas. And so I haven't even really looked at a lot of what they've said, but just from like the first pages, like getting that in-depth line stuff so early, like it was so hopeful, because I think sometimes writing a book feels like it is never going to end, because you're never going to know everything you need to know about, is it good enough? Is it, and so I think bringing in people early helps you to see it with so much more reality and more clarity. And of course that's a lot to ask of people, but I think if you can find like truly people who are also maybe writing, or who genuinely care about your story, or who love to do that kind of thing, even if you have to pay for it. Like if you don't have your own village, there's no shame in paying for it. But also, this is a great time to shout out Meredith Phillips, her critique partner Matt Shep. I did a video about this when it came out, but I'll link that playlist down below, but it's a great place to find and match up with critique partners who might be in a similar stage as you. So for sure to check that out. But I don't know, it really changed my perspective, because I think I've often thought of beta readers as like this checkpoint, where it's like, once I'm done with it and once it's great, then I'm gonna send it to people, and then I'll get their comments back, and then I'll sort them all and I'll analyze them all. Once all of the comments are back, then I'll do all of this stuff. And I don't think there's anything wrong with how I did it before, but I think it was kind of on a whim that I sent it to them so early. Like the second half isn't even done yet. It's already feeling so much more freeing to give it to them a little bit more raw and a little bit more bloody, so that when I'm stitching it back together, I have the perspective of multiple people. And so I'm stitching the right things and the right time. I don't know, I'm gonna be coming up here doing a video on like my entire process, because I think I'm now at a point where I think I understand my full process, because I'm just getting through I'm doing the beginning of my process right now, and I just did with my last book the whole end of my process. And so I think I kind of have, it's always changing and evolving, right? But like kind of a better idea of what that looks like. And writing has always been a team sport for me, but I've always thought of it as this individual thing, which I think also adds so much pressure to it. When all the pressure is on me to get it perfect all on my own, that's a horrible amount of pressure, and please don't do that. Because I think about my book I wrote in high school, it's actually one of my readers right now, but I would send her every chapter that I wrote. And when I was writing in college, I had this character that was fully just based off of one of my friends, Catherine, who watches this channel too. And I would call her and I would ask questions like, what kind of things are you doing in your homework right now? Because they had the same degree. Or I'd ask her like, would an aerospace engineer think about this? Or do, you know, like that kind of stuff. I would also interview all of my friends about how to kiss people. Because I've never been kissed, so I wanted to know, how does it feel? Where do your hands go? What is the conversation like right before and right after? How long does it take? What is going on in here and in here and in here? What is all going on? And I would interview people, and I have these voice notes of me interviewing people. And even in a broader sense, it's a team sport because you're taking from your experience of the world and you're catching dialogue from people as you walk by them on the street. I don't know what this video is. I'm just kind of chatting. And I just want to bring another metaphor to you for a second, or not even a metaphor, but I was thinking about like, what is this video? What's the point of this video? Is it just me having a revelation? But I was thinking like, if I can like compel you to start building that writer community earlier, I think it will only help your writing. That's where my writing has grown the most, is by sharing it with people and even just talking it out with people and writing with other people. But it is such a painful process, I have found, to get to meet people. And so I kind of want to, at the end of this section, I don't know how much is left of this video, you know more than I do, give some examples about places you might be able to find writer community. The first one is here, my 6 a.m. live sprints. We have a great time on YouTube. There's lots of communities, there's lots of Discords, there's lots of places here. But actually my 2 critique partners, I did not meet on the internet. I met them in person, and one of them, we just had a mutual love of books, and I just kind of forced her to read my books. And another, she was also writing a book, and so that they kind of fell into my lap a little bit, which is excellent and beautiful. But my other critique partner, who I met in college, I met her at a creative writing club. And so if you're in college or high school, or you live in a community that has like clubs and writers meetings, I'm not just telling you to go, I'm telling you to go multiple times, because a lot of times people, if you've tried to make community in writers groups before and you have found that it's not really the vibe, you just need to find one person. And this is gonna sound so horrible and mean. Like, I'd say 80% of the people in these writers clubs meetings I would go to, I thought that they were, we just did not align. Like, they were writing like battles, like historical battles. I don't know, like, we're very, just did not write the same things, did not really vibe, struggled to communicate well, which is, I mean, I don't mean to say that they're like bad or that they couldn't be a good writing friend, because honestly, a lot of those people were very close friends. I just didn't really align or vibe with them. But there was one person who I also noticed wasn't really vibing with them and was like almost close to leaving the group. And we ended up writing multiple scripts together, critiquing each other's works and finishing novels at the same time. And like, we didn't even end up continuing to go to the writers group. But my advice is, if your writers group is weirding you out, sometimes people in writers groups, and you might be this person and there's nothing wrong with that person, but can be like aggressively nerdy, which is good. I am also aggressively nerdy, but sometimes if you're not nerdy in the same way, sometimes you can rub each other the wrong way. Or for another example is, I'll sometimes try to go to writing groups in my community, and it will be like people who are like 70 years old, which is great. If you are 70 and writing, I love that. I am so happy that this group exists, but they were not really seeking the same kind of things as me. They didn't have the same goals. And honestly, we just did not really click. I don't know. Just the conversations were focused in different ways. So again, not that any of these people or any of these groups were bad, but if you're experiencing some struggles finding the right people in writing groups, I just say just keep trying and look for people who maybe also feel uncomfortable. I don't know. I will just say just keep trying, because there's probably somebody who aligns with you. And I also think it's nice to look for people who have similar goals as you, who are maybe seeking, like if you're seeking traditional publishing, someone who's also seeking that. If you're wanting to hobby write, finding someone who also wants to hobby write. If you want to self-pub, am I making up words now? Self-publish, like finding people who align with you. But it doesn't need to, like, you don't need to be seeing the same kind of publishing in order to work. Like, The people who I have had the most alignment with are people who either write in similar genres to me, we're just like friends in real life, or who have the same level of discipline and motivation and want to write at the same pace. Because some people don't want to write every day, and that's totally fine. But I was looking for somebody who wanted to write most days, you know, so that we'd be finishing things at similar times. I don't know. So that's just one piece of encouragement. And also I just want to have a moment here with you, because starting any sort of process where you're trying to make friends or meet people or find community or any of that is horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible. To give you an example, this is not something I'm going to talk about a lot, okay? I'm just gonna, for the sake of a metaphor, but don't try to ask me about this because I'm not gonna answer. In this spring, I decided, I've been on dating apps here and there. It's exhausting, and it sort of reminds me of like critique matchups. Not that they're bad. They're like, neither are bad, but it's just so hard to find the right people. Anyway, so I've been on dating apps, and I'm horrible at responding because it's just like sucks to like have these shallow conversations back and forth, and like the monotony of trying to have these like conversations back and forth about nothing or about really surface level things, and you can't get a vibe and you can't tell who they really are and all that. Like, that is such an sucky but like present part of almost every type of thing like this where you're trying to build community. And so for the summer, I made a bet with a coworker, but also just with myself, that I would go on 10 dates over the summer. So that means I had to get through that initial in conversation to actually get to a date to see if I could actually connect with people. And let me tell you, once you get past the bumble back and forth, hey, what's your favorite color? Do you like to eat sushi? Like, once you get past that, whatever that looks like in what you're trying to get to, then you get to real conversation, and you get to really see, like, is this a person that I'd want to spend more time with, or that I'd want to spend more time with their writing or as writers together? But it takes more than just those initial conversations to know. And you just gotta be brave sometimes. And you just have to like bribe yourself with a leather bag like I did. I didn't even end up buying the bag. You like bribe yourself with a birthday cake, even though it's not your birthday. Bribe yourself with something. Bribe yourself. This is my moral of the story, is bribe yourself. Now that I broke through that hurdle of just going on dates with people, even though it sucks, and every time I go in, I feel like I'm gonna throw up, even if I like the guy. I still feel like I'm gonna throw up because I hate that initial type of conversation. But once you start doing it, it's not as scary. It's not as scary as you think it is. So whether you needed that for dating, or if you needed it just for finding friends, or for finding writing community, that is my tip, is just do it. Please comment, like, if you need some external motivation, I will motivate. If you come to my live streams, I will ask you personally if you tell me to. The moral of the story is you need community. People need community in their life to thrive. Not everybody needs the same amount of community. Some people need 10, some people need 1 person. And so my advice is bring people in more than you think you need to, because it will only make you better. And also, at the end of the day, it is up to you to get your butt in the chair. But other people can hold your hand to walk you to the chair and sit you down. And there's no shame in that, and you should do it. That is my long-winded way of saying thank you to my critique partners. So don't forget to check out Meredith's critique partner matchup if you're looking for writing community. And also, thank you to you guys for being that community for me and helping me to make progress. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.